Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Beth and I am the Bookworm Trait. In today's video I'm going to be talking about 10 anticipated releases. I did film a most anticipated releases of the year video all the way back in like January, maybe December. It'll be tagged if you want to watch it. And in that video I talked about all my 5-star predictions for the year. Out of all the books I've read from that video, I don't think any of them are 5 stars. Some of them aren't being released till next year. So I thought I would do just a little updated version because my reading tastes have changed so much since then. I also received one of my anticipated releases today, which was not in that video because, as I said, I was a different reader then. I don't know how to say the title of this book, so I'm gonna wait till I hear more people talk about it. I just want to show this off really because it's like stunning. It's not part of the video, it's just stunning. Now, before we start the video, I do realise that I probably should have put these books into some sort of order, whether that be my most hyped to my least hyped or release date or whatever, but I did not because I didn't think of that until I sat down and started filming. So we're just having this in the order that I found them. Sorry, I will tell you release dates though. So the first book that I want to talk about is Every Last Secret by A.R. Torr. Every Last Secret is a domestic thriller, which I believe is my favourite type of thriller. And I think I especially like them when they focus on married couples. Every Last Secret seems to follow two women, Kat and Nina. They are next door neighbours. Kat has a very enviable life. She has a beautiful home, she is well respected within their community, and she has a very sexy husband. Nina is very different and feels unfulfilled in her life. And living next door to Kat is a constant reminder of what she doesn't have. Specifically, Kat's husband. Nina goes from infatuated to obsessed. She wants everything that Kat has and she's willing to do what it takes to get it. Although I love books that show healthy relationships between women and books that uplift female friendship, I also love books that look at how fucked up women can be sometimes. I hope that because there is also a friendship between Kat and Nina, it's not just going to be a typical jealousy, women hating women story. I feel like there's also jealousy on Kat's behalf towards Nina, so I think it'll be interesting. I'm interested. The next book is released at the end of this month, the 29th of September, and this book is called Historically Inaccurate by Shay Bravo. Now, one thing this book does say is it does say it's a Wattpad book, and I don't know what that means. I think it means it's an author who wrote a book on Wattpad and now Wattpad are publishing it in a physical format. I think that's what that means. I really like the sound of this, but I do also think it's one of those books that might not be as great as I think it is. It might not live up to my very, very high expectations. This book follows a girl called Sol, whose mother has been deported. I'm not sure to what country, it doesn't say in the synopsis. And her life has been completely turned upside down. She has a new home, she has a new school, and she has a new family dynamic. She ends up joining her school's history club in an attempt to try and fit in and find new friends, but they have a strange initiation process. To become a member of the history club, you must break into the oldest house in their city or town or village, I don't know where it's set, and steal a fork. When Sol breaks into the oldest house to steal the fork, she is caught by the grandson of the house's owners and barely escapes with the fork. And Sol begins to learn that even though it's hard, it is so important to be your true, authentic self. This book can go one of two ways. It's either going to be a really terrible, cheesy romance, or it's going to be an inspiring, uplifting story about belonging and identity. If it's about belonging and identity, I'm here for it. If it's a cheesy romance, I might still be here for it. The next book is Hush by Dylan Farrow, which is apparently £45. I don't think that's right. And this book has one of the most stunning covers, as you can see, and it is released on the 6th of October. I think there might be a couple that are released on the 6th of October. And this book is described as, and I will read it verbatim. A stunning and timely debut from activist Dylan Farrow, Hush is a powerful feminist fantasy full of surprising insights that cast a ray of light into the shadows of a society based on silencing and lies. Now, if you know me, you know that I struggle a little bit with fantasy at the moment. I think it's just a case of overdoing it and just reading nothing but fantasy for like 6 years. But I do still find myself drawn to, I'm just gonna say, more abstract forms of fantasy, things that don't conform with the standard hero saves the day and saves the world kind of tropes. I like fantasies that are either very dreamlike and whimsical, and I also like fantasies that seem to cross over with like dystopian and utopian sci-fi. So Hush is set in a world where words literally contain magic, but there are only a select few people who are able to harness this magic. These people are called the bards, and the bards are all men because, you know, patriarchy. We follow a girl called Shay who has always been fascinated with the bards. Now Shay has lost her family. She lost her younger brother to an ink disease, and her mother was murdered with a golden dagger, which is a weapon that only the bards use. In search of justice, Shay sets out to find answers and is given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to train to become a bard. I love the idea of magic coming from words. Obviously, as a reader, but also as a writer, I just love language. I also love the fact that this sounds like it is about women being silenced, which is a thing. You know, things are obviously a lot better today than they were last year or the year before, but it's something, you know, we still have to work on. We still have to work on women's rights and for women to be treated as complete equals. So yeah, I'm here for that. So the next book is Little Bones by N.V. Peacock, and this one is released on the 31st of October. And this book, so I believe this is another thriller. It could be a horror, but I think it's a thriller. So I've tried to describe this book a number of times and it's very difficult to explain. So I think for this one, I'm just going to read out the synopsis because it just does it so much better than I could. I have 3 names. I was born Leanne. I became Cherry. When I was a child, they called me Little Bones. My father was Mr. Bones, the notorious serial killer of 25 years ago. As a child, I witnessed his crimes. Everything is different now. I have a new identity. I'm a mother. I am finally free. Until that podcast, I should never have listened. They're linking a recent disappearance to the crimes of the past. They know who I am. They're calling me Little Bones again. They say I'm a villain, but I'm not. I'm a victim. You believe me, don't you? Does that not sound good? It sounds good, right? I recently read The Whisper Man, and this gives me very Whisper Man vibes. And I really loved The Whisper Man. There was a few little things that I think could have been better, but on the whole, I thought it was amazing. And so yeah, I'm hoping this lives up to my Whisper Man expectations. So the next book is a slightly more hyped book than the others. I hadn't heard of any of the others anyway, but I've heard of this one. And that is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novak. And this one is again coming out at the end of this month. This is coming out on the 29th of September. And I do have a pre-order for this book because Naomi Novak is an author that I am desperate to try, just haven't got round to it. I really want to read Spinning Silver and Uprooted. I think I'm going to absolutely love both of them. They're fairy tale retellings. I believe they're like lyrical and whimsical, and that is my jam. So I will be reading those before I go to this one. I just think it's a good idea, if you can, to read an author's work in chronological order, because obviously their writing develops, and sometimes if you start with the most recent and then work your way back, you'll find that you don't like older stuff because it's not as good. I know she's got books before Uprooted, but I'm not so interested in them. I believe they're like dragon fantasy, and that's just not really my thing, especially now. But Uprooted and Spinning Silver, I think I can get behind both of those. Anyway, let me tell you about A Deadly Education. So this is set at Scholomance, which is a magical school. We love a magical school. Now this magical school is slightly different to what we are used to. If you fail, you die. There are no teachers, there are no holidays, and the only friendships that you make are the ones that can benefit you. The most important thing is survival. Once you enter Scholomance, you don't leave until you graduate or die. And to do so, you just need to follow some simple rules. Don't walk the halls alone, and beware of the monsters who lurk everywhere. So in this book we are following a girl called Elle. Now Elle doesn't seem to have any friends or allies, but she has a really dark and powerful magic that means that she could easily wipe out all of the monsters at Scholomance, but she might also kill the other students by accident too. So I'm not entirely sure on where the plot is going with this book. Obviously the synopsis is mainly about the school itself and a little bit about Elle, our main character. But I love dark academia, I love dark magic, I love morally grey characters, and I think this is going to have all of that. I believe that Naomi Novak's writing is very whimsical and lyrical, and that is something that I absolutely adore. So I think this is gonna be a good one for me. So the next book is another one that I've heard quite a lot about, and that is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. I haven't heard so much about this book, but I feel like I've seen it a lot on Instagram. This is 100% a 5-star prediction for me. Again, I'm just going to read you a little bit of what they have written down to describe this book, because you will see it is everything. So this book is described as a highly imaginative and original horror comedy centered around a cursed New England boarding school for girls. A wickedly whimsical celebration of the art of storytelling, sapphic love, and the rebellious female spirit. Do I need to say more? So we have school setting, dark academia, whimsical, sapphic romance. Those are like my four top things. Those are them. I see a book with those things in it, I instantly want to pick it up. Maybe not so much the sapphic romance, although I'm always on the lookout for good sapphic romance, so obviously hit me up if you've got any recommendations. Just seeing that something is a sapphic romance isn't an immediate pick for me, but if I see something has things that I kind of like and then it's got sapphic romance as well, that's like, yes please. Oh, one other thing I forgot to say, this is also a story within a story, a book within a book. Oh, it also has illustrations. The more I read about this book, I've actually read this book's description already, but like, again, it's shocking me. So another thing it says is it manages to combine the ghostly sensibility of Sarah Waters and the dark imagination of Marisha Pessel and the social commentary of Curtis Sittenfeld, but I don't know who he is. Sarah Waters, I believe, is the author of Tipping the Velvet. Let me check that. Yes. Tipping the Velvet is my favourite sapphic romance of all time. Marisha Pessel wrote Never Wake, which is one of my favourite kind of like out there stories where I describe it as like a creepypasta story, which I don't know if creepypasta is really a thing anymore, but like, you know, the no sleep Reddit. It's like one of those kind of stories where it's just really weird, creepy and weird, like not necessarily scary, just creepy and weird. 20th of October. I need to remember to pre-order this when I get off this video that is taking a very long time. Okay, let me actually tell you what this book is about now. I've just gushed about it. So as I said, this is a book within a book. So our first book is set in 1902 and follows two friends, Flo and Clara. I love the name Clara. And I bet Flo is short for Florence, another name I love. Flo and Clara are students at Brookhant's School for Girls, and they are obsessed with each other and with an author by the name of Mary MacLane. I also think I really like books with authors in them. I think I do. And Mary MacLane is the author of this very scandalous memoir. They have their own club, which is called the Plain Bad Heroines, and it is dedicated to Mary MacLane. They meet in a nearby apple orchard, and this is where the bodies of Flo and Clara are ultimately discovered, with a copy of Mary's book. And this is a bit that concerns me. They have been the victim of a swarm of stinging yellow jackets. I don't know if you can tell, I'm getting a bit stressed. I don't know what yellow jackets are. I am assuming they are something akin to a wasp, and I have a very intense phobia of wasps, so I haven't looked them up, because if they are, it's gonna be like, it's gonna freak me out a lot, but I really want to read it, so I'll just skip that part. If there's Boston, I'll just skip that part. Over the next 5 years, 3 more people end up dead, and Brookhampton's School for Girls ends up closing its doors forever. Our other part of the story is set over a century later, when the school is abandoned and derelict. And another author, this time by the name of Merritt Emmons, publishes a book about the queer feminist history surrounding the school. This book is then turned into a horror film. The 2 lead characters in this horror film, as well as Merritt, the author, go back to the school to begin filming. I'm sure there's other people there as well, but they're the only ones mentioned. And soon the past and the present begin to mingle. Oh, I just think this book sounds so good, and I am super excited for its release. So the next book is another September release. Again, this one is the 29th of September. And this book is called The ThreeMRS Rights, that was difficult to say, by Linda Keir. This is another thriller. There's a lot of thrillers on this list, but this is a thriller that reminds me of a great movie, The Other Women. I think it's called The Other Women. And it also reminds me of like The Talented Mr. Ripley. So this book is about, unsurprisingly, 3 women, 3 Mrs. Rights. We have Lark, who is a board game designer, and in a whirlwind romance with a investor by the name of Trip. We have Jessica, who has recently been seduced by Jonathan, who is involved in a new startup medical business and has invited Jessica to be part of the team. And we have Holly, who has been married to her husband Jack for over 20 years. They have 3 beautiful children, a beautiful home, and on the surface, a perfect marriage. Now, as I'm sure you can guess, it turns out that Trip, Jonathan and Jack are all the same person, and Mr. Right's lies are about to catch up with him. All I'm going to say is, who does not want a book that is The Other Women meets the talented Mr. Ripley? It's a match made in heaven. The next book is We Were Restless Things, and this is by Cole Nagamatsu, I believe is how you pronounce that. I did forget to look it up before filming, but I feel kind of confident that I have it right. I will check and I will correct myself if need be. This is another fantasy, and again, it's the kind of fantasy that I seem to be more drawn to now, which is more speculative. It's weird. I was gonna say dreamlike fantasies where they don't make sense, and I just saw that this book is told through multiple POVs and a dream journal. Now, I do believe this is a YA fantasy, which is slightly concerning because I don't really like YA fantasy anymore. Maybe this will be one to change my mind. I hope so, because it sounds very good. So this book follows a girl called Nomi. And last summer, Nomi's best friend, Link, died. He drowned on dry land in the middle of some woods, miles away from any water. Link's death was ruled as a strange accident, but Nomi knows the truth. Link drowned in an impossible lake that only she can find. And recently, someone claiming to be Link has been warning Nomi to stay out of the forest. So though this is YA, which, as I've said, I am struggling with at the moment, this does sound like it's on the darker end of the YA spectrum. It doesn't just follow Nomi, it also follows Link's younger sister and Nomi's housemate, and the three of them begin to discover truths about themselves and the world. So I guess there's a coming of age element to it, which is something that I do enjoy, although I prefer coming of age stories that are quite gritty. And I'm not sure if this is going to be gritty. I think if this is executed in the way that I want it to be executed, I will really enjoy this. If this is dark and dreamlike, like it feels it's going to be, I think I'm going to really love this book. If it's not, then I don't think I'll like it. So the next book is We Hear Voices by Evie Green. And this book is going to be released on the 1st of December, so quite a wait for this one. And I'm hoping that's going to work in its favour because this is a book about a pandemic. Pandemics are something that I absolutely love in books, but I have been trying to avoid for obvious reasons. And I'm hoping by December things will have calmed down a bit. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping. If not, I am at least hoping that I feel alright enough to read it because I want to read it. I don't think I'm going to be triggered, but you never know, do you? So in this book, there is a pandemic that gives people flu-like symptoms and has killed a lot of people. But Billy, a young boy, has survived. His mother, being so happy that her family is healthy and whole, thinks nothing of the fact that Billy has developed a new imaginary friend by the name of Delphi. But soon Delphi begins telling Billy what to do, and Billy starts acting up and lashing out in ways that he never has before. As Delphi becomes stranger and more sinister, Rachel will stop at nothing to protect her son. This is a horror book, and I've said many times, I really think that horror is my current genre of choice. This sounds really creepy, really scary, so hopefully this is going to be the horror that actually scares me. Fingers crossed. Okay, we have made it to the final book on this list, and it is another horror, this time called The Holo Places by T. Kingfisher. Now, whilst We Hear Voices sounds like it's going to be something genuinely scary for me, this one, The Holo Places, doesn't sound scary, but it does sound creepy and interesting. So this is about a girl called Cara who has recently divorced her husband and has moved in with her uncle. And in her uncle's home, she discovers a bunker hidden behind a hole in the wall. She begins exploring this strange bunker and finds that it has portals to countless alternate realities. But these alternate realities, or these portals, are haunted by creatures that hear thoughts. And the more you fear these creatures, the stronger they become. Does that sound good? Yes. It sounds creepy, but not in like a scary way, in like a cool sci-fi kind of way. This, to me, for some reason, this gives me real Doctor Who vibes. I think something about it reminds me of the episode Silence at the Library. It's the episode that we are first introduced to River Song, so it's the last meeting between her and the Doctor. And I don't know why it's reminding me of that, because I think that is just some like software gone wrong, is like what's killing people in that episode. I'm not sure exactly what it is that is giving me that vibe, but it just does. And I love that episode of Doctor Who. It's David Tennant era, so you know it was the best era. I think it was also when Donna was his assistant, the best assistant. So yeah, if it can live up to my expectations, I think this is going to be another great read for me. So those are the 10 releases that I'm most anticipating for the rest of this year. I do just want to give 2 honourable mentions. I am very much anticipating The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. However, V.E. Schwab is a bit of a hit and miss author for me. I absolutely loved Vicious, and I absolutely loved this Savage Song. I was kind of indifferent to A Darker Shade of Magic, and there have been some of her books that I have actually disliked. And I also wanted to shout out some less hyped books in this video. The second book is I can't remember its name. I did look it up before this, but I've been talking for so long now that I've forgotten what it's called. How the Prince of Elfheim Came to Hate Stories, something like that, which is an addition to the Air of Folk and the Folk of Air and Song. I don't know what it's called. The Cruel Prince trilogy. It's an addition to that. I have yet to finish the Cruel Prince trilogy, but I loved the first two books. I hope to one day read Queen of Nothing, and I will be buying the new book because I have no restraint, but I won't read it until I finish the series. So if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some good recommendations from this video. Please leave me your favourite love heart emoji to let me know that you were here, and also let me know if you plan to read any of these books or you have any recommendations for me. If you want to see more from me in the future, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll come back and see me in another video soon. Bye!